War of the Worlds and The Day the Earth Stood Still are films that have very subtle and metaphoric titles. The Earth never stood still. If it did, we'd all go flying. Yes, there are movies where the title does not tell you what the movie is about and makes you say,
gee, this movie could be about anything.
So perhaps you like your alien invasion movie to have a more direct and precise title, one that tells you exactly what the movie is about. Well, how about Earth versus the Flying Saucers, which was released in theaters June 13th, 1956. And this movie is exactly what it says it is. It's Earth versus the Flying Saucers. Yeah, there's no pesky subtext or subliminal pretense or whatever you want to call it. This movie is called Earth versus the Flying Saucers, and it's about Earth versus the Flying Saucers. Yep, it does not get more obvious than that, and this is actually a pretty good movie. And this does have some pretty good visuals too, especially for the time. I mean, look at that. There's a flying saucer crashing into the Capitol building. I mean, are they trying to invade us or do us a favor? Am I right? Am I right, folks? Am I right? You know what I mean. Yeah, this guy gets it. Yep. And this movie's fate on VHS would be spared not. What? It would be released on VHS by Good Times Home Video in 1989, and it would be released again in 1996 by Columbia TriStar Home Video. Let's move on to an alien invasion movie that's rather subtle in its invading alien premise, with Invasion of the Body Snatchers, which was released in theaters February 5th, 1956. And I say it's subtle because it's an alien invasion flick that does not involve attacking hordes of Martians or armadas of UFOs. Instead, it involves spores sent from outer space. These spores would replicate the human race, replacing them with emotionless imposters, with the aliens' ultimate goal being to eventually dominate planet Earth, which does seem like a very effortless way to take over planet Earth. I mean, you wouldn't have to waste money on space fuel or anything like that. And this movie was a big hit. It would go on to be a cult favorite, a science fiction classic, and be a landmark in outrageous science fiction movie titles. And speaking of that, this is another movie with a very direct title. It's called Invasion of the Body Snatchers, and I'll be damned if it's not about Invasion of the Body Snatchers. This would first be released on VHS by Nostalgia Merchant in 1981. Nostalgia Merchant. And then Republic Pictures Home Video acquired the home video rights to this and would release their own distribution in 1986 in this nifty Nito torpedo clamshell as part of their Collector's Classic series. Collector's Classics. And Republic Pictures Home Video would stick with the home video rights for this movie like shit on Velcro, as they would go on to release this in 1988 and again in 1995. And both of these more recent distributions are rather easy to find today and go for around $7. The 1986 distribution is not as easy to find, but not impossible, and usually goes for an average of $20. And the Nostalgia Merchant distribution, well, that's not quite easy to find either. It's not impossible to find it, but you're getting pretty close to impossible. But just because something's almost impossible to find today does not mean it will be tomorrow. Yeah, things seem to pop up out there on the high seas of the internet, so always keep checking. This would go on to have a remake in 1978. MGM Home Video would grab hold of the home video distribution rights to this and release it in 1983 in their famed book box. Okay, and here's what's weird about this. This was released in 1983 by MGM Home Video, right? Right. But apparently that was only in the US, because outside of the US, this was released a year earlier in 1982 by Warner Home Video. What is going on there? Well, I probably could find out rather easily with just a little research, but I'm not. And MGM Home Video would go on to release this again in 1988, again in 1992, and again in 1997 as part of their Contemporary Classics Collection. And they would release it one more time in the year 2000. And this distribution was part of their MGM Movie Time Collection. And all of these distributions are relatively easy to find today and rather cheap, with the exception being the book box distribution, which I can't find this thing anywhere. But again, it could pop up somewhere tomorrow, so, I don't know.
Bit of a disclaimer here. I have since obtained this particular VHS distribution of this film, so there you go. Anyways, back to it.
This 1978 remake plays out more like a horror movie than the original did, and I believe that the cast in this movie does not get enough recognition. Sure, Donald Sutherland is in this, we all know that. He gets the most credit for his role in this film, but I think we all tend to forget that Jeff Goldblum and Leonard Nimoy are also in this, and it sure is neat to see them all in a movie together.
Watch the full episode here, as well as other classic Captain Adams VHS pirate ship adventures, and please hit subscribe.